Hey there guys, Jeff and Matt Kite.
And Ryan?
And we're here to kind of step into the world of, you've just learned the sport, you have your beginner board, and now you're looking at, what do I do next? What's my next size? What next board should I get? There's a lot of options out there.
Yeah, in a lot of ways you can do this, right? You can have two boards. You can have your light wind board, you can have your high wind board, but we're talking specifically, you sold your 120 liter board, you're looking for your next board, and you're going with a single daily driver here. So yeah, what are you looking for? What kind of things are you looking for as far as board length goes, maybe width, volume, that sort of thing?
And the discussion comes, do I need two boards? I mean, we have two boards behind us, and we'll touch on this here in a little bit. But ideally, what can you, the most bang for your buck, one, right? You know, not all of us work in a shop where we have access to different sizes or have hookups or ambassador riders or whatever have you. You know, it is expensive. And so my next board, is it one that I can have for a long time? And that's where we really want to help you as the customer. Once you've learned on your bigger board, now you're buying your next one. Is it going to turn into buying a third or a fourth board? So we'd like to help you out a little bit with that. So to build some context, I think you did a nice job with it. You said around 120, 115 liter board. Both of us are around 175, 180 to 185 pounds. And we learned on the 120 to 115. Yep. And we have a lot of customers that are calling us, you know, and they call in and go, hey, I'm riding, I'm nailing some jives, I'm even nailing my tacks. I want a smaller board. And Ryan, wouldn't you agree that a lot of people are like, chase this, you know, the chase to going as small as possible? It seems like there's kind of this thought process that smaller is better, right?
Yep.
Have you heard that? There's some of that's a little bit out there.
Smaller, higher performance, turns faster.
I'm better if I'm on a smaller board. Makes you feel good about yourself because I'm on a 50 liter board and you're on your 90. You know, there's that's out there. All right, the ego of the smaller is better. All right, we've done that. I mean, I've ridden a 55, 45 liter. I've actually ridden all the sizes up to 140 liter boards. Yep. So I've had the experience and I know what all of them can and cannot do. So to help you out with what would be your next size board, we have two behind us here. We have, again, we're going to do this in the context of 175 to 185 pound riders. We have a 65 liter, which for Ryan and I, wouldn't you agree, Ryan, this would be like a semi-sinker?
Yeah, that'd be a good board for us.
Yeah.
For where we're at now, that'd be a real good one quiver board.
And this board right here would be great for us in 15 knots or over. All right. So if you're jumping from your 120 or 115, we're not saying this would be the best board to jump to right away, but this is a board that we've gotten down to. So this would be like my third board. Working at Matt Kite, I went from a 120, 115, went down to a 90, and then I jumped down to around a 60 or 70 liter. You followed pretty much the same pattern, right?
Yep.
All right. And then next to us, we have this other board, completely different shape, known as a downwind sup board, which now is being applied to winging, light wind winging.
Light wind winging.
Right? So these are the two boards I just grabbed out of my car. But what we want to do here is try to help the customer. Do I jump down to a two board thought, right? Yep. Or can I go down to the next level size and maybe that board might be the one I can ride and not have to change? Yep. So Ryan, what would you think with that? What would you think the size would be? We've got here our semi-sinker 60-65, and we have our downwind board, which is long, 85 liter. What would you say?
First, let's back it up, back to going from the 120 to what's next. I would say a good jump for a lot of people, if you spent enough time on your 120. Obviously, if you're just getting out there, you're just starting to jibe, this doesn't apply. This is for someone that's out there consistently jibing, maybe starting to work on their tacks, probably downsized their foil already. That next jump where you're able to jump to something that's a significant enough difference that you're able to stay on it for a long time. I would say, like you said earlier, right around that 90 liter. So that's a good size for most boards. You're looking at probably something near the 5.5 foot range.
Or just under, yeah.
So you still have quite a bit of fore and aft stability in that 90 liter range at our weights. You're talking something that's pretty buoyant. I wouldn't consider it a sinker yet, but you do have to be on it to keep that board level, because if you tip a little bit, parts of it are gonna start to submerge and sink. So that's the size that I would look for going from that 120 for my second board. I wouldn't even consider a downwind, light wind board yet. I wouldn't consider a sinker board. That's a long ways out there. I'd just go for that one good all-arounder.
Totally agree with you. I think you nailed that. Once you start getting under that 100-liter range, I know you and I have ridden all these boards in different conditions. You're not sacrificing much on performance once you get under 100. It does help when, for getting up onto foil, even in light conditions, that 13, 14 knot up and above. So it helps you, gives you some forgiveness there if you're on an 85 or 95 liter board. I feel in that range, once you start riding waves, it's not too big. It doesn't feel too cumbersome, but it's a decent size to ride, a decent wave, a wave that can be from knee high to waist high to maybe even chest high. I mean, we don't all live where there's charging big waves, but to get yourself into wave riding, you start to go under 100 liters. You also have some benefits that it's not holding you back much in that area. Again, there's give and takes, with any board sizes. But if we're trying to hit the next size, I think you nailed it, right around that 90, 85 to 90. And again, we're talking about people that weigh anywhere between 165, 170 up to maybe 190, maybe up to 200, depending on your skill. I like how you preface this too with you've already, you have some skill set and you've changed your foil, which we're not really talking about in this conversation. But that is a big piece to it as well. So the discussion we have, could that be it? I mean, could you, with your 85 or 90 liter board, in most conditions, could you get away with that being probably the one board you could have and be fine with?
Yeah, I think so. Take a little while to get efficient in those lighter conditions with it. But after you get used to it, that would be a really good all-around size, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would check most of the boxes.
It would do what both of these can do. Meaning it can ride in the higher winds, 15, 16 knots plus, and yet, without getting a specific downwind board, you could still cheat the lower end.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've done a video on the magic 14 knot. I think that would be, an area you could definitely get up on a 90 liter, 80 liter board, and that 14, 13, again, depending on your weight and skill set, you can cheat either side of that. Based on
which
your skill
foil
set.
you're using.
Yeah, which foil and wing.
Yes, you could do it with that 90 liter.
Yep.
In all conditions, really.
And when I get conversations about this, and they call me and go, "What's the next size I should get?" And I tell them around that 80 or 90, and with a little bit of talking, most of our customers can understand that would not be a bad buy. I have some wanting to jump right down to a 60, going from like half, and I always tell them, you can do it, but you're going to want to be in powered conditions, because it's going to be hard. You're not going to have stability. It's going to be somewhat under the water, so it's very hard.
You want to be real honest with yourself about where your skill set is at that time when you make that jump, because for some people they're done with that 120 liter board and want something smaller, but they're not ready for the 90 yet. Maybe they got one jibe and they think that they're there, but they're not connecting all of them. They might want to go a little bit bigger. They might want to go just over 100 there.
Yeah, and we're not here to talk about the foil, but that's usually another thing we suggest. Instead of changing your board first, change your foil. Go to a little bit smaller foil, a little less drag. You can work on your jives and your tacks. And then when you're ready to do that, then you can start to drop to that 80 to 90. So
boards.
Sounds like we would agree that 80 to 90 liter range, you really can't go wrong. We know that from experience riding the boards. I was just out at Hood River, had a great day out there, and I had an opportunity of riding a board that was from a 55 liter up to a 90 in the same conditions, and that 90 liter board didn't really hold me back riding the river swell. So if you're in doubt, it's far better to go to that, don't chase to the lowest one, hit right about that 80, 90 liter. And I've come full circle with this. I've gone down to smaller boards and I kind of gravitate to that 65, 70 liter. I can ride smaller. I can find advantages to that in higher winds and waves, but overall for a wider wind range, what we're talking about, that 80, 90 liter, I think is a good size for our weight range and what we're at. So yes, you can get away with one board and not feel like you're missing out, on most of the days. I would think for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would say I feel like most people I've talked to that have gone down in board sizing, they've hit that low end, they've hit those really small boards, and most people end up walking it back a little bit. They say, yeah, I can ride it, yeah, it was fun, but there's a lot of advantages to having another 10, 15, 20 liters of volume where I don't really want to go out on that board all the time.
And work so hard to get up.
Yes, exactly.
You're in the water while someone's doing tacks around you. And I said some local guys. We have some local guys that ride the real small, and they see that there can be disadvantages.
You can tell in the lulls.
Yes.
When they're riding a real small board.
Yeah. They're stuck out there.
Everyone else is working to get up and get going, and they're sitting there waiting for a big gust.
Yeah. I mean,
so that's...
it is a complicated discussion because we all live in different wind ranges and different areas. I mean, if you're in a super windy area, then you probably could go a little less volume because more wind makes it easier to get up on less volume board. But a lot of us, live in areas where we have a range of maybe 14 to 21 most of the time, 12 to 18. And so in that aspect, it wouldn't be best to go with just the downwind board, which this is not for beginners. And we wouldn't suggest going to the charging lower level semi-sinker or sinker boards. We'd split the middle, which we don't have here. But one thing I'd like to add to this as you're looking at boards, the technology's changing. They came out initially shorter, stubbier, more volume, but now they're getting a little bit longer and narrower. So I think that's something that can help with that mid-range board. You look for that kind of style. So
hey guys, this has been Ryan and Jeff. I hope that helped you guys understand a little bit of what goes into your thinking of that second board after you first get into the sport, when you might want to move to that smaller board, and kind of what sizes you might be looking for. If you've got any questions, feel free to hit us up through the website, live chat, phones. We're here to help you guys out.